Welcome to another episode of Chat Sports Talk, and welcome to my 2023 NFL Week 1 recap reaction video. That's right, we go over these past weekends' slate of games. There were a few surprises, some definite blowouts that no one really saw coming, didn't see coming. And we'll just kind of go over how I did compared to, how my picks did. And overall, not very well. This is week one. It's kind of like an extension of preseason, pretty much. It's like week one games you can pretty much throw out. I don't think it's going to be a rubber stamp in how the rest of the season is going to play out for most of these teams. Some of these teams, yeah, it's going to be other teams. We'll find ways to bounce back. So let's just go ahead and kick things off from last Thursday night's opening game. The defending champs at home hosting the Detroit Lions, one of the most talked about teams this offseason. In one of the few teams in the NFC that people are starting to praise about, saying things are just going in the right direction. They're buying into the system. They're ready to take the next step. And poor Kansas City had a couple players out. Chris Jones was out. I'm still holding out. Travis Kelce was out because of injury, training injury there. Lots of words there. So you had a major piece of defense missing, and one of the key receivers missing. Kansas City has the mentality next man up, so somebody should step up. And I don't take anything away from Patrick Mahomes. There's a reason why he's an MVP, two-time Super Bowl champion. He does things that you're scratching your head going, how the heck did he just do that? But we went in there, and Detroit was very confident. They took it to him. They did not back down. These are not, the Motor City Kitties anymore. These are actual Lions. These are guys that are coming of age. They're ready to make a statement. Since the NFL went to 14 divisions, Detroit's the only NFL team not to win the division title. This to show you how long this team has been inept in the NFL. But Kansas City was able to jump out to a 14-7 lead at half. But after that, Detroit's defense stepped up. They stifled Patrick Mahomes. Made him make some errant throws. His receivers did not help him at all. No one helped him out. Guys were wide open, dropping it. And that right there, I think, is one of the key aspects of this game. Detroit came to play. There's no doubt about it. They came up to show out that we are here. We're here to stay. We are legit. You better watch out. They walked in there. Goff had over 250 yards passing, only one touchdown. Montgomery, the former Bears running back, almost 75 yards for the touchdown. Very balanced offensive-wise and very stoic defensive-wise. Detroit held on to beat Kansas City 21-20 to start off the season with a surprise. A few people did pick Detroit to win. I did not. I just couldn't go against Patrick Mahomes. And now we're looking at a potential where Detroit could really make a statement for that NFC North crown. And Kansas City questioning. Good news for Kansas City. Chris Jones has signed a 1-year deal, so he will be back on the defensive side. Travis Kelce should be back next week as well. Looked like it was just a 1-week possibly injury. So, that's not the death nail for Kansas City yet. Like I said, it's the first game of the season, but definitely Detroit made them look very vulnerable. I head off to Sunday. Now we're going to start off at Hotlanta as the Falcons play host to Bryce Young and the Carolina Panthers. As we had 3 first-round quarterbacks making NFL debuts this week. Try and see if one of them can actually win. I think Bryce Young was given the benefit of the doubt, trying to be the better of the 3 to actually win their game. But yeah, just typical rookie quarterback maneuvers. I mean, he had 146 yards in the air, a touchdown, 2 interceptions. It was Algier that was the main focus of Atlanta. He's running 75 yards on the ground, 2 touchdowns. Atlanta did everything they possibly could. Nice, clean, simple, and easy. 24-10. That was all there was. There's no really true highlights about this game. So we'll give the Falcons their flowers, and we'll just move on to the Bucs showdown in Cleveland, where Joe Burrow and the Bengals came to town to take on the Browns. And I said that Cleveland is a talented team. They're talented on both sides of the ball. They just can't get out of their own way. Deshaun Watson, could he return to his former glory that he was in Houston? Probably not. I think that Deshaun Watson is gone. We have to start a new Deshaun Watson. He doesn't have to be that caliber of a quarterback in Cleveland. Cleveland's good enough where even if you get 50% of that Deshaun, this team will do good. But a lot of focus on the Bengals. Joe Burrow had a huge contract extension, making one of the highest paid quarterbacks. And they laid an egg. Cleveland was all over them. They didn't allow Cincinnati to get away with anything. One of the worst performances by Joe Burrow in his career. Deshaun Watson didn't do a lot in the air, 150 yards, touchdown and interception. Nick Chubb had over yards rushing. And Cleveland just muscled their way to a 24-3 win, much like I said they would. Trust me, I didn't have very many good successes this week, but I'll take them when I can get them. Then we have to Indianapolis, where Richardson was making his debut for the Colts. A lot of people really hyping on about this guy. I'm not convinced. He's talented. I'm not taking that away from him. He's definitely talented, but very inexperienced. Pretty much like Trubinsky was when the Bears drafted him. Taking on Trevor Lawrence and the Jacksonville Jaguars. The Jaguars team, I think, that has a lot of potential this season. I think they're the AFC South division winners this year. I see them making a nice run in the playoffs. Jump out early, 14-7, but the Colts came screaming back. Got up 21-17, but you're dealing with Trevor Lawrence, you're dealing with Etienne. Calvin Ridley became Lawrence's favorite receiver. 100 yards, touchdown. Lawrence, 240 yards, 2 touchdowns. Etienne had 77 yards on the ground and a touchdown as the Jaguars muscled their way through in the fourth quarter, beating the Colts 31-21. Give me win number 3. Then we have to Minnesota, and Tampa Bay Buccaneers, led by Baker Mayfield, came into town to take on Kirk Cousins and the Minnesota Vikings. And Kurt had a very productive day, over 304 yards passing, 2 touchdowns. Jefferson had 150 yards receiving. It'll got to go be a good thing. They had no running attack. Their defense kind of fell apart too. They let Tampa Bay kind of stay around. The offense wasn't firing consistently. Very inconsistent on the offensive side of the ball. It was 10-10.5. It was just every time that you think Minnesota could turn the corner and take the lead, Tampa Bay just kept battling back. Tampa Bay has decided they're not going to re-sign Evans, which I think is a huge mistake. But Tampa Bay left Minnesota a 20-17 victor. Totally just blowing up what I thought was going to happen. And what does it mean by the Vikings? They had a lot of close games last year, and they won most of them last year. So maybe that's finally going to catch up to them. They'll start losing them. But yeah, it's a bad sign when you start losing to Tampa Bay. They're down to the Big Easy, where the New Orleans Saints are taking on the Tennessee Titans. And this one I went with Tennessee because of Derrick Henry. I believed in him more, but he had a few highlight reels where he's stiff arming guys. But he didn't crack 100. He barely cracked 60 yards on the ground and no touchdowns. The Saints did enough to allow him to make some highlights of themselves, but not do any true damage. And that was a key factor. Derek Carr, leaving the Raiders organization, coming to New Orleans, I think was probably the best for him because there's a lot of talent in New Orleans. There's a lot of talent with the Raiders too. But they came in there, 305 yards in the air, touchdown. Of course, he had a pick. And that's just par for the course. But they kept the Titans pretty much at bay throughout this game. The fourth quarter heroics sealed the deal. The Saints end up slipping past Tennessee 16-15 in a wild baseball game. And continuing my losing ways for this week. Steel City, a lot of hype about this game. Question marks about the 49ers, I think. We're looking to see if Kenny Pickett can turn a corner and really elevate his game. A lot of people forgot about Christian McCaffrey. He ran amok on these guys, 152 yards on the ground with a touchdown. Brock Purdy was setting the precedent on this game. Pickett barely had anything. I mean, he still had over 230 yards, but he threw 2 picks. Ayuk was the main draw in the receiving core, receiving almost 130 yards and 2 touchdowns for the 49ers, and the 49ers went into Pittsburgh and dominated. I did not see this domination from the 49ers, but they went in there and won 30-7, making a statement game early in the season. Then we head down to the Washington, D.C., where the Commanders playing host to Arizona Cardinals. This was a game that I didn't really see many things going well for either one of these franchises this year. There's definitely a scoop and score by the Cardinals defense. They gave Arizona Cardinals a little bit of a lead, and they had that lead at the half, 13-10. But Sam Howell had 200 yards, touchdown. That was enough. Commanders ended up winning 20-16. Then we head down the road down to Baltimore as the Ravens are playing host to the Texans. And C.J. Stroud was making his NFL debut. Stroud actually had a decent time frame, 242 yards in the air. No picks, no touchdowns. So that was good on him. He wasn't trying to force the ball too much. So I watched a little bit of this game. And with him, it was a trying to stay upright because the Ravens defense was definitely trying to get in there. Roquan Smith, Clowney, 2 acquisitions they made recently. Roquan Smith with the trade with the Bears, and Clowney was just recently signed. Definitely made the presence felt in the backfield. So they give much time for the Texans, but the Texans was a very tenacious team that seemed to stick around more times than not, because it was only a 7-6 halftime lead by the Ravens. Their secondary was playing havoc enough for most of the game for the Ravens, against the Ravens. There was Odell Beckham Jr. Never really getting much attention early, but when he did get the attention, he drew the PIs. He had some key receptions, made some key blocks. So he was a factor in the game in a lot of aspects. Helped set up winning touchdowns. As Baltimore was just gritty enough with all the penalties, ended up beating the Texans 25-9. But the Texans they definitely show that Stroud was probably a good choice for them. Then we head to Chicago, and the Green Bay Packers come to town, the oldest rivalry in NFL. I had high hopes for this game. I really did. A couple of receivers were questionable or out. Only one was out, and that was Watson. Dobbs up showing. Green Bay's defense hasn't lost a beat. The Bears' offensive line, a lot of work to do. The running attack, minimal at best. Justin Fields has shown some progress in terms of trying to make the passes, but I think the play calling right now is just not there. The Bears were somewhat in this game in the beginning. I mean, it's not much to really say about that. There's definitely some miscues on that offense that need to be worked out to kind of help sell some plays, because they had a 4th and 1 that the running back was not in the right position to really help out his quarterback get that first down. So it was 10-6 at the half, but after that, it was just all Green Bay. Green Bay just stifled Justin Fields. He kept throwing interceptions. Jordan Love, I think last week I called him Derek Love. Sorry. Not sorry. 245 yards in the air, 3 touchdowns. It looks like they caught lightning in a bottle a second time by drafting a quarterback and then have him sit for a few seasons and then trade away the former quarterback to the New York Jets and bring in the new guy. It's like a sense of deja vu in Green Bay. And that's why a lot of people had Green Bay high on the boards. I thought they would have good games, have a lot of bad games, just because you're dealing with a guy who has been sitting behind watching and not in the games when it matters. He only had one other start, and that was the end of the season. But it's definitely a interesting concept, but I think that Green Bay should probably make some noise as well. And I think Green Bay and Detroit could be some favorites in the NFC North, even though I thought it'd be the Vikings and Bears. But it's only week 1, so we'll wait and see how that plays out. Then we have Mile High City, where the Raiders came to town to take on Russell Wilson and Sean Payton and the Denver Broncos. Jimmy G now with the Raiders. Teaming back up with his former OC in New England, Josh McDaniels, who's the head coach with the Raiders. And I went with Denver because they're at home. They need steps themselves. The Raiders kind of missing some pieces on offense. But Jimmy G hasn't really lost much. The problem with him is him staying healthy. It was 13-10, Denver halftime lead. But as the fourth quarter, the Raiders had the better situation. They ended up winning at Mile High 17-16. Kind of repeating Denver's woes from last year. Not winning the games they should be. Russell Wilson wasn't much of a factor in this game, so it is probably be a long season for Denver fans. I had high hopes for him once again, so we'll see how this one plays out. But once again, a late afternoon game was another loss for me. We have to Foxborough with the Patriots. We're playing host to the NFC defending champion Philadelphia Eagles. A lot of people had the Eagles going back to the Super Bowl, winning it. And they also had Tom Brady in attendance to have a halftime ceremony to honor him for his illustrious career with the Patriots and winning many, many titles. Eagles weren't having none of that. They jumped out early, 16 points in that first quarter. They're like, we are not going to be playing this game. But New England did come back, made it 16-14 and a half. But after that, it wasn't much of anything else. One of the things they did in the first quarter was Matt Jones threw an interception there, slated and ran it back 70 yards to the house. He actually had over 300 yards passing with 3 touchdowns. So New England's offense is actually doing really well. It's the defense that couldn't contain Jalen Hurts and the Philadelphia Eagles. As the Eagles were able to escape New England 25-20 and make me lose another late afternoon game on Sunday. Then we head to L.A. and the Chargers are playing host to the Miami Dolphins, an old AFL-style clash between these two. And Tua Tagovailoa had a field day. Over 460 yards in the air with 3 touchdowns. Tyreek Hill, over 200 yards, 2 touchdowns. The dynamic duo of these two is going to rain havoc on the AFC. That's if Tua can stay healthy. But this was a track meet. It really was. That's why the AFL reference. That's what made the AFL kind of great when they first started. Is they kind of let the defense kind of step aside. The offenses was just running amok, which made people happy because seeing high-scoring games, people get excited because they love seeing points. Offensive showcase between the two. The Dolphins able to hold off and edge the Chargers 36-34. And then we head up to the Pacific Northwest, and the Seattle Seahawks playing host to the Rams. And I thought the Seahawks would have the enough to be able to get past the Rams because there's no Cooper Kupp. We still have Matthew Stafford, who I think is a better quarterback, Geno Smith. Stafford had definitely over 300 yards. Aaron Donald made his presence felt a lot in the backfield. Geno Smith got to know him very personally. And they could not really get anything started. They struggled immensely. I mean, they were ahead 13-7 in the at halftime. But after that, the Rams took over and never looked back. You know, they doubled up their HB, the MP, and they just ran amok and just outplayed Seattle that second half, outscoring them 23-0 to a 30-13 victory. Starting their season very well and completing my losing every single late kickoff game on Sunday, the late afternoon games. I lost every single one for my 9th loss this week. It was just a horrendous showing for those 5 games. Like I said, it's week 1, and they can really happen during that time frame. Then we head over to New York, where we deal with a pair of games. Of course, centered around the September 11th motif. I guess motif is kind of a bad word to kind of say, but remembrance. We started off on Sunday night where the Giants are playing host with their division rival Cowboys. Dak had a very good record against the Giants throughout his career. I think it was like 11-1. And this was not even close. The Dallas defense was all over Daniel Jones. He had nowhere to go. Dak Prescott didn't really have to do much. I mean, 143 yards total in the air. So the defense did pretty much everything they possibly could. I mean, they had a defensive, special teams, offensive touchdowns. They did everything. Tony Pollard, 70 yards on the ground, but 2 touchdowns. It was just a dominant performance by Dallas defense. Dominant. The big D. The D stands for dominant. The D stands for defense. The D stands for Dak. They rolled 40-0. That's right. Nada. Zilch. The G-men couldn't get any points whatsoever. Could this be a sophomore slump for them? Possibly. Does it mean Dallas is back? I'll pump the brakes a little bit on this one, but they definitely made a statement game as well as the 49ers. So the NFC definitely looks a lot loaded. And then we did Monday Night Football. September 11th, of course, pre-game ceremonies dealing with the remembrance of September 11th, a tragic day in American history. Those that witnessed that will never forget it. And they try to teach the younger generation about that. My oldest was just months old when that day transpired. And of course, serving overseas at that time frame had a different meaning, I think. But saw how the rest of the world rallied behind us, how we rallied together. And that's what we need to do as this country. But definitely a sobering moment at that. But then we had kickoff, and then after, New York crowd kind of shook off. Shook off is kind of a bad way of saying that. But, said their piece, had their moment of peace, and we're ready for some football. ready to get excited because Aaron Rodgers is making his Jets debut. The sky was high for these guys. So much hype about the Jets this offseason. How they were a possible Super Bowl contender because of Aaron Rodgers stepping in there. Having Aaron Rodgers would have increased their wins from last year because they had quite a few games where they couldn't score any touchdowns, but the defense kept them in, and the offense just fell apart. And they're taking on the Buffalo Bills. You know, they're the new demon of the AFC East. First play the Jets have on the offense. Hall had this 26-yard run. But the Jets' offensive line definitely has some issues. The next three plays, Aaron Rodgers was running for his life. Leonard Floyd was went in for a tackle. And Aaron Rodgers got hurt. He stood up, limped around, and just sat back down. He actually rolled off in the cart. Come find out today, at the time of recording this video, hyperextended his tendon, the Achilles tendon. So he's going to be out for a while. You saw the face of Saleh, the head coach for the Jets. It was just a blank of, oh, what do I do now? I got to put Zach Wilson back out here. The crowd went silent. They realized their dreams of heading to the Super Bowl once again probably went out the window. But they keep forgetting what Aaron Rodgers brought to the team. He brought his OC, the former head coach of the Denver Broncos, and OC from Green Bay. Cobb and Lazard also came over from receivers. You have two very experienced receivers to help out the quarterback, or not, the receiving core. Aaron Rodgers was then helping Zach Wilson because Aaron Rodgers knows he's not going to be there forever. He's looking at 2, possibly 3 years. So he's actually kind of helping Zach Wilson. Zach Wilson looked a lot better. So much of the responsibility he had being the face of the franchise was just lifted off of him. He didn't have all that weight just bear down on him. And yeah, they struggled. That's per usual, but Jets defense was on point. Intercepted Josh Allen 3 times. Even a fumble recovery. I mean, he had 4 turnovers. Josh Allen was not himself. Even though we give Josh Allen a lot of credit for the how he plays and the way he kind of dictates the game with him on the field as a quarterback leader of this Buffalo franchise, he was not himself. He had the most turnovers of any quarterback last year, and he just led once again in that category. He kept the Jets in it. The Jets defense kept themselves in there. They just kept battling and battling. I mean, it was only 13-3 at half. So it was definitely within their realm of possibilities. Yes, Zach Wilson had some issues. Getting the ball out in time because he's trying to hurry up and go through his progressions, and he's a little bit slow in that aspect. I got seen some of that because he had wide open Lazard. Took him a while to get to him. Even the defense took a little while to get to Lazard, but he was able to finally get to him as he was going down, and Lazard had a nice gain. And those are the type of things that you're looking at, is him finally getting there, finally getting through his progressions. So that the team was actually rallying behind him a bit. And they were just battling and battling and battling. Get to the fourth quarter. And it was just a wonderful catch by Wilson where he was just battling the ball. The ball was actually tipped kind of somewhat in front of him. And he was able to tip it into himself as he went laying down in the end zone for the touchdown. And given the Jets a 16-13, well, and ended up giving them a 16-13 lead with just, minutes to spare. Josh Allen was able to march down the field, set up a game-tying 50-yard field goal that bounced off the upright. There was a couple of those this weekend where the upright actually helped the kickers. So Monday Night Football goes to OT. Okay. No problem, no extra football. We kind of like that. Bills had the first drive. Couldn't get much or anything. The Jets defense was on point. They came by almost electrifying punt returns, I think, that reestablished faith in the Jets organization. Short punt, and he ran it back for the touchdown. No flags. That's it. Game over. Sala was so happy. He was like, all right, good. We got it. Good run, good run. And he saw where he was going. He knew what was happening. He's throwing his headset off. He was running to the end zone. That was it. The Jets won against the Bills 22-16 in an overtime thriller. I thought the Jets were going to win anyways, because the Jets always played the Bills tough last year. It just happened to be the Jets seemed to have the Bills number. They just couldn't get over that hump too much. They did today thanks to special teams and defense. There's going to be some question marks on the offense, especially with Aaron Rodgers sitting out because of his Achilles. But he is gone for the season. Definitely might impact him of possibly making a return next season, but we'll see how his rehab goes. But also, this also affects the Green Bay Packers because there's a draft pick traded to Green Bay, and depending how much Rodgers played, if you played 65% of the passes, that draft pick would become a first-round pick. And that's a second-round pick. So Aaron Rodgers now, with his injury, messed up two teams. I don't make to make hard of it, but you kind of have to look at it that way. But now the Jets are have to looking for another quarterback to replace, not really replace Aaron Rodgers, but become a viable backup. With that being said, I'm going 7-9 this week. Those late kickoff games on Sunday, kicked my behind, lost all 5 of them. It was just nightmare, just one after the other after the other. I just couldn't. I couldn't. I really couldn't. Especially that Chicago Green Bay game. I did not like that at all. I stopped watching that one. And it was just, no. I'm like, great. It's the same old again. Anyhow, let me know how you did in your picks this past week. Which game surprised you the most? Were you surprised how well Dallas dominated or San Francisco dominated? Which teams really put themselves on the map? I know it's early. It's really early kind of jump on the bandwagon. Some of these teams, but some of them really said, no, hey. So the NFC, you're looking at Philadelphia, Dallas, San Francisco. I will throw in Detroit and Green Bay in that mix as well. The teams to really consider making a nice run in those playoffs and possibly a trip for the Super Bowl. AFC side, right now, it is anyone's game. No one looked completely dominant, and everyone had something in them. And the AFC is just loaded with talent anyway, so it's anyone's game right now in the AFC. It's who can, not make the mistakes at the right time. But hey, let me know down below. This video is getting super long for a recap. Hey, just hit that thumbs up, especially like the content I provide you. Really please you two guys. Really help run this video out. You also subscribe. About 90% of you are not subscribed. That's cost you a dime. You just click the subscribe button, turn on your bell, click that bell icon, turn on notifications, let you know next time I post any more content on my channel. And I'll see you next time on Chat Sports Talk.